believe we'll start with the roll, although I'm not certain if we have quorum, but we'll find out here. Commissioner Lardenois.
Here.
Commissioner Aluwalia. Good evening. Welcome to the July 27th City of San Jose Planning Commission meeting. We'll start with the roll. Commissioner Lardenois.
Here.
Excellent. Commissioner Aluwalia. Commissioner Barrocio.
Here.
Commissioner Cantrell.
Here.
Commissioner Casey.
Here.
Commissioner Garcia. Commissioner Ornelas Wise.
Here.
Commissioner Young. Going back to Commissioner Aluwalia. So I believe we have quorum. Is that correct, staff?
Yes, that is correct.
Outstanding. So in accordance with state law, this City of San Jose Planning Commission meeting will not be held in a physical meeting, but rather it'll be a web meeting. And this is recorded, and people can view this meeting via the city website, via YouTube, or via the community access channel. If you want to provide feedback to the Planning Commission, you can certainly raise your hand on the web meeting, or you can call the phone number 888-475-4499, click 9 or *9 to speak, and you'll be called upon. Let's see, so summary of hearing procedures. So for those tuning in for the first time, what typically happens is the staff will present a report. The applicant or appellant may have a 5-minute presentation portion. Those then will go into where the public can speak, and you can have up to 2 minutes, but based on high demand or the hour of the meeting, that time may be reduced. If you're using a translator, you are welcome to have that, and we'll have double the amount of time. And after the testimony has been taken, the applicant or appellant may choose to make closing remarks for an additional 5 minutes, and the planning commissioners may ask questions of the speakers, of staff, etc. And then we'll close the public hearing, and then we'll take action on the item. It's important to note that if you're in the litigation and you challenge any land use decision in court, you may be limited to only raising those issues you or someone else raised at the public hearing, or unless you provided written correspondence delivered to the city prior to the public meeting. The Planning Commission's actions on rezonings, pre-zonings, general plan amendments, and code amendments is only advisory to the council. The City Council will hold public hearings on these items as well under Section 20.120.400 of the Municipal Code. So we've done the roll call, we've done the summary of hearing procedures. Now this is time for public comment. So this is where any member of the public may talk about a topic that is not, I repeat, not on the agenda. And you may take that time to address this government entity. So at this time, planning staff, is there anyone that has a comment for public comment?
Hi, Chair. I'm not seeing any hands raised for public comment.
Okay, well then we'll proceed then to the consent calendar, where we have to approve action minutes and some consent items that are there. There's appears to be just 2. I would first ask, are there any items that the commissioners wanted to pull from the consent calendar, or just leave it as staff has led to have it as part of the consent calendar? Not seeing any. Is there any members of the public staff that you see have a raised hand for the consent calendar?
Seeing no raised hand for consent calendar.
Great. At this time, we would love to have a motion from a commissioner to accept the consent calendar.
Motion to accept the consent calendar.
Great. And is there a second for that motion?
I second it.
Great, we have at least two on that one. I'll let staff decide who got the second. But that was certainly a motion by Commissioner Casey and then two follow-ups for the second. So at this time, I think we will do a roll call vote. Let's see here, got to go to the, bear with me real quick. Commissioner Lardenois. This is for the consent calendar vote. And I guess we'll pass on that for now. Commissioner Aluwalia. Commissioner Barroso.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Cantrell.
Aye.
Commissioner Casey.
Aye.
Commissioner Garcia. Commissioner Ornelas Wise.
Aye.
Commissioner Young. Absent, and myself a yes. So now we'll be moving on to the public hearing portion of the city council meeting, starting with that item, which I'm trying to scroll to. Staff already knows well what that is, so they can go ahead.
Chair, were you able to hear me when I voted?
No, Commissioner, we were not, but I assume that would, how would you
Yeah, I
like to
voted
vote on that?
yes, sorry.
Oh, no sweat. Okay, great. So we're moving on then to the public hearing. Staff, what item are you presenting first on the public hearing?
Yes, it's item 5A. This is Angela from
Hi.
planning. Hi. So thank you. Good evening, Chair Oliverio and Commissioners. Angela Wang, Planning Project Manager with Planning, Building, and Code Enforcement. This is a site development permit to allow the addition of 2 hydrogen fueling dispensers and the associated equipment, a trash enclosure, and a 7-foot high concrete block wall along the adjacent residential property to relocate an existing storage container and to legalize an unpermitted parking lot to the east of the existing building on an existing gas and service station property located on a 0.44-acre site at 510 East St. Carlos Street. This site development permit was approved at the March 9 director's hearing. An appeal of planning director's decision was submitted on March 21st by the owner of the property to the south of the project site. The appeal was heard at the June 22nd Planning Commission hearing. The appellant did not attend the meeting. The Planning Commission denied the appeal and approved the project. On June 23rd, the appellant contacted staff and stated that he was not notified in advance about the hearing and did not receive the postcard notice. Zoning Code Section 20.100.190 requires notice to be sent out at least 10 calendar days prior to the hearing date. So because the postcard notice was sent to the appellant's mailing address 7 calendar days prior to the hearing date, staff determined that the appeal should be reheard by the Planning Commission. So the appeal form cites hazardous operations and criminal business as the reason for the appeal. The appellant is not appealing the CEQA clearance for the project. Therefore, the director's decision to adopt the initial study mitigating negative declaration for the proposed project is final. The appellant has expressed to staff and stated at the director's hearing that the existing gas station and the auto repair service have created a nuisance in the neighborhood. And there have been illegal activities such as outdoor vehicle storage and repair and 24-hour operation of the gas station. He also expressed concerns about the light glare towards his property from the existing exterior lights on building. The appellant also sent a letter to staff and Planning Commission today. A lot of comments, including the letter, have been discussed in the staff report and addressed with the proposed project. The project includes some site improvements, including a 7-foot high concrete block wall along the shared property line, combined with a 5 to 6.4 foot wide landscape strip with shrubs, a new covered trash enclosure, and replacing the existing wall-mounted light facing the residential property with fully shielded light fixtures. The height of the proposed concrete block wall exceeds the 5 foot high requirement by the zoning code. In addition to the site improvements, the project design minimizes the impact to the adjacent residential properties by locating the new hydrogen fueling dispensers further away from the shared property line than the existing fuel dispensers to remain, and restricting the operation hours of the hydrogen fueling dispensers from 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. The two conditions of approvals are included: requiring the operation of the site to be maintained in a nuisance-free manner, and all graffiti to be removed from the buildings and wall surfaces, including job sites for projects under construction, within 48 hours of defacement. Another condition is included to only allow outdoor storage as shown on the project plan. The project plan does not include any outdoor auto repair area, and there is only one existing storage cabinet on site. Code enforcement inspectors have been to the site multiple times. They have confirmed that currently the only pending code violation case is the unpermitted parking lot, which will be legalized with the approval of this site development permit. The project is consistent with the neighborhood community, commercial, general plan land use designation and council policies, and complies with the development standards of the commercial general zoning district as discussed in the staff report. Therefore, staff recommends that the Planning Commission to deny the appeal and approve this site development permit. Before concluding staff's report, I would like to turn it over to Jason Jublisco from Code Enforcement to provide a summary and status of the code violation cases associated with the site and the operation of the gas station.
Hello, my name is Jason Jublisco with City of San Jose Code Enforcement. I am the supervisor for the case at 510 East Santa Clara Street. The case was opened July 17, 2019 for various issues that include blight, solid waste stored on the property, illegal dumping on the property, repair shop welding and dismantling vehicles outside, subjects living in vehicles on the property, graffiti on fencing, leaving garbage containers on the street, unpermitted signs installed with no permit, repaving the lot, and operating 24/7. Violations we have witnessed include auto repair outside, graffiti, car parts stored outside, broken building windows, inoperable vehicles, debris and garbage scattered on the property, and use of unpermitted lot on the east side of the property for parking vehicles. We confirm that the signs and the removal of the propane tank does not require a permit. We have issued 2 citations for graffiti to the property owner. Those were on August 14th, 2020 and June 28th, 2021. November 2020, we issued an inspection notice for violations that included use of the east side of the property for the parking lot without planning approval, and working outside of vehicle bays, so working in the parking lot or next to the pumps. We stated to immediately cease working on vehicles and using the parking lot or obtain planning approval for the parking lot. Following the issuance of the inspection notice, we confirmed that they were still using the parking lot and have not received a planning permit for the use. We then issued a compliance order on March 4th, 2021, that they need to cease the use of the unpermitted parking lot or obtain planning approval. In March 2022, we confirmed the gas pumps were open 24 hours a day, and we issued a warning letter that they were not allowed 24-hour use. We followed up and attempted an inspection at 4:45 in the morning and confirmed the pumps were shut off to customers. We went out to the site today and we did not observe any graffiti or vehicles being worked on outside. We did see a kid's toy and hose roller that may have been dumped on the property and some engines behind the building. Our code enforcement case will remain open until the planning permit for use of the unpermitted parking lot is obtained or the use of the lot ceases and any blight violations are corrected. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions you may have.
Does that conclude staff presentation?
Yes,
Excellent. Is the appellant here this evening? Okay.
Yes. Logan is here. He's representing us from First Element Fuel, as well as Mike Strada, who's the account executive from First Element Fuel.
Okay, so you have, I believe, 5 minutes.
Oh. Actually, Mike, I think he was looking for the appellant. We are
sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
yeah.
Sorry.
No,
I was starting to get confused
side.
there. I'm like, wait a minute, which way is this going? But yeah, who is that appellant staff? Their name?
The appellant's name is Ray Carlero.
And do you see them in attendance on the meeting?
Yes, he has he raised a hand.
Has he been promoted to panelist? Or promoted so he could speak?
Hasn't yet. If support staff can unmute Ray Carrillo instead of Tim. Thank you.
Ray, can you hear us? Hello, Ray.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, Ray, we can hear you. The floor is yours. Please present.
Hi, thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here today. Grateful for the opportunity. I'd also like to thank both planning staff and code enforcement staff for their help and their efforts and for patiently listening to my kicking and screaming about this and listening to me and my long-winded emails. I very much appreciate them being here. Thank you very much. Regarding the permit, I just would like you to consider 3 things if you could. I won't speak to the parking lot that was a permitted, fully enclosed parking lot attached to the restaurant. I want to speak directly to the fact that I believe that by allowing this permit, you will create an opportunity for catastrophe. And we are fortunate that there hasn't been catastrophe to date. So to that end, I would like to ask just 3 things of you, if you could, as you're considering this permit and this appeal and looking at the pictures that I presented, I would like you to just think about why it is you volunteer to do this, eat rubber chicken lunches and read Sequa instead of Louis L'Amour. I think it's because you love the city and you want it to be good for everyone. And you have an eye and capacity to understand what needs fixing. So that's why you're there. And I'd like you to think about that as you consider this. Secondly, I would like you to consider the role as the commission. Staff's job and role is to do things the right way. And when that comes in conflict with doing the right thing, that's when your role comes in. And as a planning commission, arguably the most powerful commission in the city, don't tell that to airport. You cut a wide lane, and notwithstanding charter, you decide where that lane begins and ends. And I'm speaking about more than just this permit. And then thirdly, I would like you, we could talk at length about why it is this has happened, and I'll save that soapbox speech for another time as well. What I would like you to think about instead is the Chevron station on Meridian and Redmond. And this gas station there with the 50 stall parking lot that over there is called Safeway, 24 hours safe and secure. What would that area and that neighborhood look like 15 years with this gas station and property? Or the gas station over on Forest and Bascom on your way to O'Connor, or best yet, the gas station, the 76 station that was on Lincoln and Willow. Willow Street Pizza wouldn't be there. They'd be called something else pizza. I don't know if Bill's Cafe would be there, or The Table, or even the neighborhood business district, or any business at all. I think Lincoln Avenue would look like a wasteland, just like it looks like here. So I would like you to consider that. And if you wouldn't allow that to happen there, why would you allow that to happen here? So that's what I'd like you to think about, please. Thank you very much for your consideration and hopefully allowing this community finally an opportunity to heal a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Staff, is there any comment from members of the public on this item?
Hi, Chair. Did we want to allow the applicant their 5 minutes?
He apparently didn't want to use it all,
But this
and
was-
he'll have 5 minutes after public comment, I believe, correct?
That was the appellant.
Right.
Applicant hasn't spoken yet. Not the applicant, the original applicant hasn't spoken.
Got it. My apologies. So appellant, applicant, then members of the public may speak. So, okay, so then I guess we're to the applicant. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And as the, can you remind on the time? Is it equal time?
Yes, that's correct, Chair.
Okay, great.
Hey, this is Logan with IND. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. I just wanted to thank staff. I know this has been a long process, and this is the second time the commission has heard this. So thank you for listening again. And I think I will let Mike Strada with First Element Fuel touch on a couple things that he thinks is important, and then we'll concede the rest of our time. Thanks.
As Logan said, we appreciate you guys' time in considering this project. Just want to bring up a little bit about First Element Fuel. We've been around for about 9 years now. Currently operate 37 hydrogen stations throughout the state. We have 2 of them currently in operation in the city of San Jose, with this being our 3rd one and looking to do a 4th as well. We currently provide over 2,000 fills to our customers and 5,000 kilograms a day without any major incidents. And we believe this is a great location and can provide the community a great service in providing zero emission fuel and limit the impact that transportation has in this area. I think that's the majority of what we have to say. I think you guys have heard we're extremely excited about being part of this community and making sure that we're a good neighbor. So we've reached out to the owner as well as the neighbors to make sure that we can try and address as many issues as possible and be a good neighbor to everyone in the area. I think we'll concede the rest of our time at this point.
Okay, so now we've had the appellant, we've had the applicant. Are there any members of the public, staff, that would like to comment on this item?
Yes, we have one hand raised. We have Brian Darby. Brian, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and begin to speak.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I just, when I heard about the, how the staff followed through and the appellant and the applicant talked, I'm glad to see this. I haven't, but I just wanted to commend how this went. I hope they can handle it. We do need that hydrogen fills and stuff, but also the other gentleman made a rather poignant plea about some of those intersections and some of those other gas stations, and I can agree with you. I can agree with him on that. So I'm leaving it in your folks' capable hands. And it's really impressive to see how code enforcement and the other group, I'm sorry with names in me, did really a pretty good job. It sort of restores my faith in some things. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Anyone else, staff? Any additional hands on this item?
This concludes all of the hand raised for this item.
Okay, and if I'm correct, we go back to the appellant?
That is correct.
Okay, Ray Carrillo, you have an opportunity to speak again, having heard some comments. If you wanted to throw anything up there, you have up to 5 minutes. It's up to you, and you're welcome to speak.
Thank you very much. Just a couple of comments. Again, this was a gas station that had 6 parking stalls, clean, without any problems. A parking lot that was fully enclosed and contained and secured, attached to a restaurant. The use permit for the parking lot was the restaurant with egress only from the restaurant. They blew that up and made what it is purposefully. And with approving this permit, you will allow an entire block to be open and unsecured and allow them to be rewarded for the deceit. that they have perpetrated on this community and citizens. So I hope you consider that this wasn't a problem until they made it a problem, and it's a problem unlike anything else. The drivers for the tankers, I have a video with them saying, please call the city attorney's office. Their company has called the city attorney's office that it's the worst address to deliver, that their supervisor tried to deliver without running over my property and couldn't. I've got that on video if you'd like to see it. All you have to do is walk out there and take a look. And I don't think you would want that place anywhere near a residence. Two of those illegal businesses being operated wouldn't even be allowed in a commercial district. And one, I believe, the dismantling is only allowed in heavy industrial, although planning can correct me if I'm wrong. All the ones that I saw were in heavy industrial. They wouldn't even be near a residence. So help. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you for participating in the process. Planning
Thank you.
staff, having heard a variety of comments, is there anything you'd like to share with the Planning Commission?
Hi, Commission. This is Sylvia Doe, Planning Division Manager. So we just wanted to clarify the scope of work in front of us this evening. The purpose of the site development permit is because the applicant is proposing to add hydrogen fueling station and associated site improvements to an existing legally permitted gas station, in which incidental auto, it's not auto repair, but they could do, for example, fixing minor auto-related installations by right. And so that use has been in existence for a few decades now. So with regards to any of the operations that Mr. Carrillo has cited, such as the auto repair, especially outdoors, he is correct in that is not permitted. And as Mr. Jason Jablisco from Code Enforcement mentioned, those uses have been previously abated or cited and abated. So in summary, really with this site development permit before you, not only does it address the proposed hydrogen fueling station, but it also addresses any remaining code enforcement violations, namely the parking lot situation. And furthermore, planning staff worked with the applicant to further rectify any other site improvements that were inconsistent with the municipal code, such as light fixtures that were not at the right height against the residential property line. So those have been reduced. They are also downlit right now, or as proposed, as well as installing a solid CMU wall along that residential property line. Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. I see Commissioner Casey. Question.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. This question is for the applicant. You mentioned that there were, I think you said 2 or 3 other locations you're currently operating in San Jose. Can you tell us where those are located?
Yes, they're located off of San Jose Snell at 3939 Snell Avenue. And the other one is off of First Street near the airport.
So Snell it's a commercial. What's the cross street for Snell?
It's Capitol Expressway, I believe.
And is that it? Does that abut any residential neighborhoods, or is that just a primarily commercial area?
I believe it's commercial area. They've got the driving across the street as well as the U-Haul that is nearby.
And then the airport one, probably is industrial or commercial as well, right?
Correct. There's a Motel 6 behind it and a Denny's.
So speaking to Mr. Carrillo's concerns in terms of its proximation to a residential neighborhood, can you speak to that in terms of how it's going to impact his life and daily routine?
We think it's a positive improvement to the site. As he's stated, there's been issues with some of the upgrades that he's seen. So we believe that adding the wall and everything else would be a positive influence on the area. The equipment itself doesn't produce anything above 65 decibels during operation, and we'd be adhering to the current operation times of 6 a.m. to 12 p.m., I believe.
What's your response to his suggestion that the trucks themselves, and in terms of negotiating their way in and out, there being some issues there?
We've done the traffic study on that, and the trucks that we have do not have that issue. They're only about 45 feet in length, so they wouldn't be a double tanker, like the videos, I believe, or the images these provided.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Chair.
And Commissioner Ornelas Wise.
This question is for Jason. Jason, I'm sure with the housing crisis that we're dealing with now, that a lot of gas stations are dealing with a lot of this stuff. Am I correct?
We do have, I don't know off the top of my head right now, but we do have cases that come in on other gas stations.
Yeah, the element of crime and violence and maybe drug use and the feces on this, how are these other gas stations working with code enforcement, or like how is the city really addressing these issues?
With any complaint that comes in, especially blight issues, we always do an inspection first. Once we confirm a violation, we issue a warning letter. But at that time of the inspection, we try to make contact with the business, let them know, hey, this is going on. We'll be issuing a warning letter, and then we come back and do a follow-up. And if that follow-up, if there's no violation, we either close the case, or if it's something that's persistent, we do another follow-up. So that's the majority of how we interact and go forward with receiving any cases.
Yeah, I mean, just when we have projects that have some sort of public nuisance that's ongoing, I mean, I guess I would like the city to have some sort of post-approval monitoring or code enforcement, on a 6-month or something, when I mean, I know this is a difficult issue, but I'm glad. Mike, I know you're the owner. How long have you been the owner for?
I'm not the owner. I'm an employee with First
Okay,
Element Fuel. I've been there for about 7 years now. I've gone from being a technician to managing the team to now working with the development of new sites.
Mm-hmm. So this site is really close to, it's downtown, and I know that San Jose State's there, and I know a lot of students may use this gas station, and I think that's a really good thing for the community and the students. However, safety is number one, both for the students and the neighborhood. And I know, given the history here, that that I know there's a wall that is only required to be 5 foot, and the staff's requested it to be 7. Do you think that you would be able to make that an 8-foot wall to prevent some of this blight from possibly going onto the neighbor?
Absolutely. If that's what's being asked of us, we are open to doing that. I think the concern there was from Mr. Correa's letter was that there was a setback issue. I don't know if that applies to going above the 7-foot mark or not, but we're definitely willing to do that, or possibly work on shading some of that light to where it's not impacting his property as well. So
increasing that wall to 8 feet would be something that you would all be able to do?
Yes.
Okay. Angela, I know you're the planning staff on this. How do you feel that this application is improving the site? I want to ask staff. I mean, to me, I think that obviously when an application comes in, this is the opportunity for the city to see what's going on there and abate certain things and improve the site. I think that improving it would make it better. And I do think that additional wall, but I have some concerns regarding some of the crime elements and safety there. And I mean, I would really like to see an on-site security on there, just to remove people that don't belong there, a no loitering sign on there, or, a city sign that says, if you no dumping, if not, you'll be fined X amount. I would really like to see these additional elements there. I'd also really like to see, in regards to landscaping, some additional trees and an irrigation system to make sure, because sometimes there's these gas stations that get approved, and then over time there's change of ownership, and there's no the landscaping is absent after so long. So those are just some of my concerns and things that I'd like to see. But thanks, Mike, for saying that you would be able to do an 8-foot wall there. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Cantrell.
Thank you, guys. Thanks staff for bringing this to us. I have a couple of questions. The wall that was removed previously, was that actually a part of their or any original requirement? Yes. Did that just get abated somehow, or what's that about?
There are no planning permits for the gas station. So there are no, there are no permits in the record for the gas station. I believe it's because of the timing was, because it was built in 1960s.
Okay, so can we require that today? Is there any reason that can't be required given the proximity to residents?
Yeah, it is a 5-foot high solid wall is required per our zoning code to separate the residential use and the commercial use.
The entire length, not just where the new tanks are, the entire length of the property?
Yes, just along the Shell property line.
Okay.
Yes, to add on to that, so per the zoning ordinance, as Angela mentioned, a 5-foot wall, solid wall is required along the residential property line that interfaces with the commercial use. And what the applicant is currently proposing is 7. And as Commissioner Ornelas Weiss suggested to the applicant, it seemed like they were open to further increasing that solid wall to 8 feet. And of course, planning staff would review it to make sure that there's still line of sight available from 11th Street, so that vehicles coming in or pedestrians still have their visibility, but further into the property by all means. But yes, 8 feet is possible.
Okay, that's great. And that temporary fencing that we saw photos of, would that be abated? I assume that would no longer be present then. Okay. Is it appropriate for me to ask Ray a question?
Feel free, Commissioner Cantrell.
Okay, so Ray, if that happens, will you consider this done, or is there other issues that we're not aware of?
Just a little context with respect, no, it wouldn't be done. And that temporary fence I paid for the last 10 years because there was no fence. The entire 165-foot length of the property open to everything in that parking lot. And just a couple of points, the parking lot had a use permit for the restaurant. The gas station tore down the fence on the side of the parking lot to take the parking lot away. The parking lot was coded for the restaurant.
Okay.
And the gas station just had 6 stalls on the side, very clean. There's a remnant of the fence that's still there that they didn't take away. And you can see how it cuts away all the parking to the restaurant with the egress at the parking drive with the giant wrought iron gate. And that wrought iron gate's still closed, but the entire side of the parking lot is open and unprotected. And the only reason that's the case is because they tore down that side fence and for some reason tore down most of the fence between the residents and the parking lot and those 2 properties. And I've been paying for that temporary fence ever since. And again, that parking lot was coded for the restaurant. And right now, with the property the way it is, the property line would be so close to the restaurant that the only 3 parking stalls adjacent to the restaurant would be so short you couldn't even back out of it. And that would eliminate, the parking requirement for the restaurant too.
Okay, so Jason, this question about the parking spots, is that the issue that's currently open?
Yes.
So does this gas station own these spaces at all, or do you permit it at all?
So during our initial research with code enforcement, the gas station owns the lot, but the lot is not permitted for a parking lot. It's supposed to be vacant, so no use at all.
Okay, so that would impact the restaurant as well.
It may or may not. I haven't done any research for the restaurant.
Okay, so the restaurant isn't asking for access to this parking at all? There's
Not-
no request at all in planning for this?
With code enforcement, there's no case on the restaurant. Planning may have more information regarding the restaurant.
Isn't that part of the restaurant's requirements to have those parking spaces available? Is that true? I'm asking Angela.
No, the restaurant was built in 1963 and per our code, zoning code, because there have been no substantial changes in the structure or the use of the structures since 1965. So the restaurant is not required to meet the current off-street parking requirement.
Okay.
And Ray actually, he stated that there was a use permit for the restaurant, but in fact, there was no such permit for the restaurant either in our system.
Okay, so maybe, okay, got it. Okay, Jason, just one last question. Just looking at the volume of complaints about this business, looking at the long term that these issues have been around and not mitigated, this seems like kind of a derelict owner to me. I don't know, are you guys going to continue to go out there and make sure these guys treat this community like it belongs to someone other than just them?
So I have had a lot of contact with the property owners and the gas station or the service station manager. And sometimes they're cooperative and will fix violations. Other times it's a little bit more difficult. And that's the reason why we have issued citations. We've issued warning letters. And our last was the compliance order. So we've had contact and they've been responsive, but just sometimes they're not.
So what do you do about that? You just keep yelling at people until they conform? What?
So we do citations, the warning letter. Our last resort was the compliance order. And if they don't comply with obtaining this permit or ceasing the use of the lot, we go to the appeals hearing board, and that's where they can be fined daily. So it's similar to this, but the board members have the authority to impose daily fines.
Okay, all right. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Cantrell. Is there any other comments from commissioners? I don't see any hands. And then staff, besides the update from code enforcement, has there been any other change to the staff recommendation or the particular details of this item to commission?
No, there are no changes.
Okay. And then, okay, well, great. Well, I know we've had discussion. There's been a suggestion of a taller fence, assuming it doesn't mess with the sight line on a vehicle. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
As is, Commissioner? Yeah. Okay. Is there a second for that motion? I don't hear one. I think we don't have a second for that one. Hold on, Commissioner Lardenois. Commissioner Ornelas-Wise?
Commissioner, you're muted.
I would do a friendly amendment to that the wall be taller at 8 feet. Of course, if it needs to tear down for visibility purpose, for safety, closer to the road. I mean, close, yeah. But I would like it to be 8 feet. I really would actually like on-site security to remove anybody that doesn't belong there. I know that in my neighborhood, there's a creek and there's a shopping center, and there's a really good security guard, and he does not let anybody sit idle there. And I wish I could hug this guy. So I don't know, Mike, would you all be willing to have on-site security? I think it would be good for your employees and for the integrity of the community there.
Commissioner Ornelas Wise, I don't think we have the actual property owner, gas station operator here for that question. But hang on a sec. So Commissioner Lardenois, Commissioner Ornelas Wise has said, I like your motion, except if the fence could be a foot taller. Is that acceptable to you?
I guess I'd want to follow up to that with a question to Mark. Is
Okay.
that, excuse me, is that something that is appropriate for us to do when we're hearing an appeal like this, to make changes to, if we deny the appeal, is it appropriate for us to make changes to the permit as approved by the director?
Yes, these proceedings are de novo, so it's as if it's coming before the planning commission as the final decision maker, and you can impose conditions so long as they're supported by the necessary findings.
Okay, yeah, that's a friendly amendment.
Okay, so we now have a motion with a second. And Commissioner Ornelas Wise, did you concluded that comment, or did you have more to say?
Yeah, I would like to add a security guard if that I think would make such a significant difference here. For, I mean, you know, for the students of San Jose State, for anybody that uses the gas station, for the neighborhood, the 8-foot wall and security guard is what I would ask. It's based on the history, the crime element. That's what I would ask during operating hours.
Okay. Staff, I think we have a variety of applications that come before us where, you know, we may desire something that's not land use and that is security. And clearly, if we had like a nightclub request permit, that would be an option. Is that an option based on the commissioner's inquiry?
Yeah, you're right, Chair Oliverio, in that security guard permit conditions are typically added to late night uses, whether it be bars or just general operations past midnight. So in a way, I kind of lean towards City Attorney Mark, if you're able to kind of shed some light on whether this is really just a site development permit assessing the hydrogen fueling station and not necessarily the gas station use itself. So not like a use permit. So
correct. Yeah. So this is a site development permit application, and looking at the findings that the commission needs to make or that need to be made for a site development permit, they don't address the use of the property. They address buildings, location of buildings. So something like a fence, for example, is an appropriate condition. The fence height is an appropriate condition for a site development permit. But since the security guard is related to the use of it, it's not something that the commission can make a finding in order to justify the imposition of that condition, not for this particular appeal.
Okay, thank you. Back to Commissioner Ornelas Wise. Is any other comments, or did you find that response thorough?
Yeah, I did. Thank you, Sylvia and Mark, for the clarification. I would just ask Mike, as representative of the property, to really consider. I would highly suggest, in good faith, that you would look into the safety of the patrons there. I think that would just be the right thing to do.
Okay, Commissioner Casey.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm not sure if you noticed, but I think Jackie Mohich had her hand up for quite some time, but then she took it down. I just wanted to make sure.
I mean, we've sort of done the public comment part, so now
I think she's with the city, if I'm not mistaken.
No, she's with the applicant.
Okay, I'm sorry. Apologies.
With that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, unless there's a question from the commissioners for Jackie. Did any commissioner have a question for Jackie as an applicant? Okay. Well, we have a motion. We have a second. I would suggest we vote. Let's see here. Commissioner Oliverio, aye. Commissioner Lardenois?
Aye.
Commissioner Ahluwalia? Commissioner Ahluwalia? I'll come back. Commissioner Barroso?
Aye.
Commissioner Cantrell?
Ray, I'm sorry you don't get everything you want here, but I think this is a first step. So aye.
Commissioner Casey,
Aye.
Commissioner Garcia, Commissioner Ornelas Wise,
Aye.
Commissioner Michael Young, I believe is still absent. Is that correct? And back to Commissioner Ahluwalia. Okay, well, I think that has the sufficient votes for passage.
Hang on a second. I just have a question here. Commissioner Awalia, I'm not hearing him at all. I don't know how he voted. And on consent calendar, I don't believe he voted at all, but he may have been there and we're not hearing him.
Okay.
So have him on consent as not voting and not there.
Okay.
And I can't hear his vote on this particular item.
And we're not hearing him either. Commissioner Ahluwalia, are you on the meeting? Can you hear us? Can you speak?
I can see his mouth moving, but
yeah, he's not muted. We do have enough votes to pass without Commissioner Ahluwalia.
You can also write his vote in a piece of paper and put it up in front of the camera.
Okay, well, Commissioner Ahluwalia, if you have heard that from staff, feel free to do that at any time, but otherwise we'll be moving on to the next item. So planning staff, I believe you are now on to item B, correct?
Yes, that's right, Commissioner. Sorry, Chair. I'll share my screen while I'm going through this.
Hang on one sec. I see the city attorney has his hand up. I don't know if that was anything, or that was an accident.
That was from my prior comment.
Outstanding. Okay, back to Patrick.
All right. Just a moment, please. Okay, hopefully you can see the rendering of the project.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I am Patrick Kelly, supervising planner. I'm filling in for the project manager for this project, Laura Miners, who is on vacation. Want to acknowledge Laura's hard work on this project. She wasn't able to be with us for this hearing, though. So the project consists of 3 multifamily residential buildings with a total of 580 dwelling units, 137 of which are deed restricted affordable. A 250-room hotel is also proposed that includes 8,500 square feet of ground floor commercial space, and the residential buildings would be developed along the southern boundary of the site, as shown here, and the hotel would be built at the front portion of the site at the intersection of Stevens Creek and relocated Lopina Avenue here. Error on the page. Okay. I don't know why this is happening.
Out of memory.
Out of memory. It sounds like me sometimes.
Now you have to use your memory.
PDF something.
Well, maybe I can close some windows here and that'll help me. If I can't, I'll just carry on. We've been having some server issues lately, but okay, well, it looks like I won't be able to finish my slideshow, so I'll just continue on and hopefully we'll be able to bring it up later.
If the images are really important, you could just come back to it at some point during the item.
Sure. Okay. So the hotel would be 6 stories, located at the corner of Lopina Way in West San Carlos. The ground floor retail component would be oriented to the corner and have a ceiling height of 14 feet. The hotel, restaurant, and cafe would also be located along this frontage and be oriented towards the proposed green promenade that extends through the site from Stevens Creek to Albany Drive. And that's a major feature of the project that's consistent with urban village policies to connect Stevens Creek with the neighborhoods behind through green spaces and promenades. Then the promenade would also be open to the public. It would be 70 feet wide and about 3/4 of an acre in size, so a significant component of the project. The project is within the Stevens Creek Boulevard Urban Village Plan, and the vision of the Urban Village Plan is to develop Stevens Creek into a more walkable, bikeable, transit-oriented street while also maintaining vehicle mobility. The project helps achieve this by constructing 20-foot wide sidewalks on Stevens Creek, as well as including the green promenade. The active building uses front the sidewalk and the promenade, creating an engaging pedestrian-oriented experience for that part of the site. 15 members of the community attended the community meeting for the project on October 18th, 2021. The primary issue raised was the traffic the project would generate and increased demand for on-street parking. The staff report includes responses to these concerns. In summary, multiple improvements are required to improve the pedestrian and traffic circulation in the area. Also raised were concerns about the project height along Albany Drive, and it is explained in the staff report that the project height at 70 feet is less than the maximum height of 120 allowed for the project. Also, the building facades have been substantially articulated and stepped back to break up building massing facing the lower height development along Albany Drive to the rear of the project. I'd now like to turn the presentation over to the environmental project manager, Court Hitchens, to provide a brief summary of the environmental analysis for the project.
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners, and everyone else on the call. I hope you can hear me all right.
Yeah.
Just briefly, so in 2019, the city of San Jose certified the 4300 Stevens Creek Boulevard mixed use project's final environmental impact report, or FEIR, for plan development, rezoning, and plan development permit to demolish all the buildings on the site, relocate utilities and the public street Lopina Way, and develop approximately 300,000 square feet of office commercial and up to 582 residential units, as well as retail space and a parking garage. California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA, does recognize that between the date that an environmental document is certified and the date the project is fully implemented, that changes may occur, project may occur, the environmental setting may occur, laws, regulations, policies may occur, or other unknown information may arise. So before proceeding with the project, CEQA requires the city of San Jose as the lead agency to determine whether any impacts from the proposed modified project would result in any new or substantially more severe impacts than were previously identified in the FEIR. Through review of this project, the modified project, the city has concluded that the proposed modified project would result in no new impacts not previously disclosed in the FEIR, and no new significant unavoidable impacts would occur.
Okay. Thank you,
Patrick,
Court.
do you have more to add?
Yes, just to conclude, staff is recommending the Planning Commission recommend approval of the plan development zoning, plan development permit, and tentative subdivision map to the City Council. And Dina Morsilli, representing the project applicant, Perry Hariri, will present the project and be available for questions.
Great.
Thank you.
And then were you able to ever bring up those images?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay, if you find you can later, let us know, but we'll move on to the applicant.
Yeah, the applicant should have some graphics.
Has staff identified the applicant to provide them the opportunity to speak?
Support staff, that would be Dina Morsilli in the attendance.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes, we can hear you.
Perry Hariri as well.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to share my
So-
screen.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay,
Dina has,
so good
I was going
afternoon.
to do a brief, just
You're eating into your time, so make a quick
Dina, you
decision
can
who's
make
speaking.
the introduction.
Good evening, Chair
Okay.
Oliverio and members of
I'm going to
the.
make a brief introduction here.
You're eating into your time, one or the other.
Sorry, Dina. All right, Dina, I'm going to go ahead and say something. Now, this is Perry Hariri with Miramar. Dina was going to stand in for me because I wasn't sure if I was going to be available. I'm with Miramar Capital, the developer. Patrick and Laura did a great job of summarizing the project. I'm not going to go ahead and
I think you're cutting out.
Yeah, we can't hear the applicant. Maybe.
Let's go back to Dina. Dina, you can have your colleague at the end.
Okay. Yeah, good evening, Chair Oliverio and members of the commission, Dina Morsilli, HMH engineers on behalf of the project. I want to, as Perry said, we want to thank staff for all of their hard work. You know, the development team has been involved with this site since 2016. Tom Durrett, who's also part of the applicant group, was a member of the advisory board for the development of the Stevens Creek Urban Village Plan. So our team has really been involved every step of the way and, you know, is committed to not just this site, but the neighborhood and the community. As was mentioned, we previously obtained approval for a PD zoning and PD permit in 2019, but due to changing market conditions, we had to reevaluate the project. So what you're considering today is a modification of the prior proposal. It includes 580 modular construction apartment units in 3 buildings, 30% of which will be affordable. So this not only exceeds the city's requirement for the affordable housing, but is double the amount of affordable units that the previous version of the project was providing. It also includes a 250-room hotel with ground floor retail and restaurant opportunities along Stevens Creek Boulevard, a publicly accessible green promenade connecting Stevens Creek to Albany Drive, and is retaining 29,000 square feet of the existing commercial. We also eliminated the standalone parking garage that was in the previous proposal. We feel that the project is consistent with the village plan's goals of establishing a more vibrant, mixed-use and pedestrian-oriented place by creating new housing, commercial services, and amenity spaces for public gathering and recreation. The 580 residential units are split into 3 buildings along Albany Drive. 173 affordable units, representing 30% of the total project, are concentrated in Building A. Of those 173 units, 26% of the units are 2-bedroom and 27% are 3-bedroom. So not only is the project providing more affordable housing, but it's larger units as well. The AMI breakdowns proposed are shown in the bottom right corner of the screen. And so of those 173 units, 10% are very low income, 5% low income, 5% moderate, and the additional 10% will be 120% AMI or lower. The final breakdown will be determined prior to building permit. The hotel on Stevens Creek will be a dual branded hotel with 108 extended stay rooms and 145 select service rooms. The hotel has been designed to provide ground floor activation of both Stevens Creek Boulevard and the Green Promenade, and as well as podium spaces overlooking the Green Promenade. We have some additional renderings to share. This is the view of the central promenade with the hotel to the left, looking south towards the market rate buildings. This is the view of the 3 residential buildings from Albany Drive. So as you can see here, the massing has been stepped down as we're moving towards Albany Drive to be sensitive to the existing multifamily residential across the street on the other side of Albany. This is another view of the central promenade looking towards the market rate with the hotel on the left and the existing commercial on the right. This is a view of the green space looking in between the 2 market rate buildings south. This is the view looking north in between the 2 market rate buildings of the green space. And this is another view of the 3 residential buildings from Albany. This is the affordable building on the left and the 2 market rate buildings on the right. That concludes my part of the presentation. We do agree with staff's recommendation that the commission recommends approval for the project. We thank you for your consideration and we're here to answer any questions.
Thanks, Dina. Did your colleague have anything else to say, or did he ever get back online?
I did. I'd lost connection, but I think Dina did a great job. I think we'll just be available to answer questions.
Great. Well, thanks so much. Staff, at this time, do you see any hands raised for public speakers?
Yes, first speaker here is Humberto Nava. Humberto, go ahead and mute your device and begin to speak. Humberto Nava?
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, commissioners and chair. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Humberto Nava. I'm a field representative with the NorCal Carpenters Union and resident of San Jose. I represent 2,879 members in the city of San Jose, and I'm here tonight on behalf of these members who live here in the community. We attempted to reach the developer to engage in a meaningful conversation about the kind of labor standards this project will have, and we have not yet heard from them. I believe this is a great project that could bring vibrancy and jobs to this part of San Jose with much needed housing to alleviate the housing crisis in our city. However, it is important to create opportunities for residents, opportunities with a job they're going to get with a livable wage and healthcare so our working men and women get a chance to work close to home, shortening their commute and giving them the time to spend with their families. To help the environment in miles travel and keep more money in their wallets by saving on gas, inflation has been hitting every family across the spectrum. Before you approve this project for rezoning, we'd like to have an opportunity to have a real conversation with Miramar Capital and their commitment to the San Jose community. Carpenters Union is always open to have a meaningful conversation that will raise the floor for the men and women in the construction industry. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Umberto. Who do you have next, staff?
Brian Darby.
Brian Darby.
Hey, looks like a really good project. I drove by there today and yeah, I could be energized quite a bit. And I was wondering, and I don't know if the commission can answer this, the affordable housing, I have several students I work with that are interested in independent living. Do they start the list, you know, where you get on a waiting list for renting for the affordable housing, or am I probably way ahead of the game on that? Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Next speaker.
Kenneth Doe.
Kenneth Doe.
Good evening. My name is Kenneth Doe. I live in San Jose for almost 40 years. I'm a member of Local 9144, representing almost 3,000 members in San Jose. Tonight, I want to speak to you about the need for labor standards. Standards we need that will help the working class, like most of us in San Jose. With labor standard comes a commitment to apprenticeship program to guarantee we have an experienced workforce to complete high quality project in a safe and timely manner. A livable wage with medical and retirement benefits that will allow workers and their families to live in the community they work in. This also means those wages will be reinvested back into the local community as they spend their hard-earned dollars. Their tax dollars will help fund local schools and government. I would love to have the opportunity to work in the city I live in. It will help reduce the pollution on the long commute. Projects that invest in prevailing wage, apprenticeship, and healthcare are the best deals for our workers in our community. The Carpenters Union would love to have a real valuable meeting with every one of you to answer questions you might have about labor violations and what standard labor standards should look like. For all these reasons, I encourage the city of San Jose adopt these labor standards as a requirement for any big developer. Before I leave you with this one question, how can we as a board better support and guard the working class men and women in our beautiful city, San Jose? Thank you.
Thank you, Kenneth. Next speaker.
Luis Mirante.
Luis? Luis is still muted.
Luis Mirante, if you can unmute your device.
I guess we could come back to Luis.
Next speaker is Balbir Dona.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Balbir Danoa, and I'm here to speak on behalf of my local Carpenters Union and the importance of making sure that we continue to hire locally and apprentices. I'm born and raised here in San Jose, and in order for me to continue living here, I need to make a certain amount of money an hour. This makes it difficult to pay for an undergraduate degree and the ever-rising expenses of the Bay Area. Because of the apprenticeship I recently was admitted into, I've been able to ensure both my growth and my knowledge within my trade. Not only do I receive a guaranteed raise every 6 months, but also great benefits. So with that being said, we will support the project as long as we are guaranteed a certain number of apprentices to be given work, along with the requirement to hire locally and follow union labor standards. Apprenticeship program success depends on apprentices being able to secure work opportunities. Without work opportunities, apprentices are likely to leave the industry for lower paying careers. Policies such as pre-qualification helps ensure that the contractors hire apprentices and are doing their part to build a community's construction workforce. Local hire helps to ensure that the money generated by new development stays within our community in the form of sales tax and property tax revenues. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
We have Craig Zurcher.
Hey, Craig.
Hi, thank you so much. My name is Craig Zurcher. I live directly across from this proposed project on Albany Drive. I'm looking out my window at the buildings right now, this very moment. I've lived here in San Jose in this area since 1958, so I've known this property since it was a cherry orchard. The question I have for you is, I want you to go from that little tiny view that the developers were showing you of that lot, back it up higher and look at the larger area that surrounds it. The only way that you will get in and out of this complex is through Stevens Creek, Saratoga, and Kiley. The major entry to any freeway is the 280 Saratoga intersection. This is the only entry into the freeway between Lawrence Expressway, and you cannot get on 280 again until Meridian Avenue. So this is a major intersection. It's totally impacted right now. This whole area right now drains through one single lane from Albany onto Kiley, right onto Saratoga. One single lane to get onto Saratoga. It is chaos every single day trying to get through that one single lane. And you are proposing something on the order of another 1,000 cars in and out through one single turning lane onto Saratoga from Kiley to get to that 280 intersection. That takes you to 880, that takes you to 85, that takes you to 101. That is this huge place. It is also one of the only places you can just cross 280. So people not even trying to get on the freeway, but just trying to get across 280 have to use Saratoga right there. So I would really like you to think about that.
Thank you, Craig. Next speaker.
Next, we have Galaxy. If you can please state your name and last name for the record. Username under Galaxy.
Galaxy phone, AO3S.
Okay, we'll move on to the next speaker, Jessica Martin.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jessica Martin. I am here on behalf of Silicon Valley at Home. SV at Home would like to lend its support for this project as it exemplifies San Jose's urban village goal of a walkable, bicycle-friendly, transit-oriented, mixed-use neighborhood that provides both housing and jobs. We feel that San Jose faces an urgent housing crisis with prices out of reach for many households, resulting in overcrowding, overpayment, homelessness, gentrification, and displacement. These 580 units, and in particular the 173 units of affordable housing, are an important piece of the solution to our most pressing problem. It is our hope that this development will serve as a catalyst for future housing development in the area, as well as provide an anchor for positive neighborhood experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker.
Next, we have Vince Rocha.
Vince.
Good evening, Vince Roja, Vice President of Housing and Community Development with the Silicon Valley Leadership Group. On behalf of our 350 member companies who support this project, it's going to provide 580 new homes, 30% of them affordable, which is a big win for housing. It's also going to have mixed use with a new hotel, which is a big win for the city in terms of tax revenue, and also maintaining some of the other uses on site. So in addition to adding open space in the Paseo. So really it's gonna have a way to fit into the urban village plan as the city envisioned it. We believe it's consistent and encourage you to approve it or recommend approval to the council. Thanks.
Thank you, Vince. Next speaker.
Next, we have caller ending in 644. If you can please unmute your phone.
Hi, caller, you're still on mute.
Hello, my name is Alex Villalobos. I'm a 49-year-old construction carpenter specialized in ceilings, different types of construction trades that I acquired through the apprenticeship program in the trade. However, I'm out of work due to a COVID pandemic. Unfortunately, this world pandemic has left me and my carpenter brothers, like myself, unemployed. And now we're trying to get back to work. It seems that it has gotten harder to find work, but we must keep on trying to look in the field of our trade. And Excuse me, excuse me. I had read some notes. This is my first time. Bear with me.
You're doing great. Good job.
I apologize. Okay. Not to mention the hard work, how hard it is in the economy these days to get by, to live here in the South Bay, as well as having good health care, working locally, as well as local hiring will be, every need to us that live right here locally. You guys do good training carpenters through the apprenticeship program. And that's all I have to say for now. You guys have a good evening.
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Next, we have Alexander Avila.
Alexander.
Alexander, you can please.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. We can hear you.
You can hear me? Okay.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, I'm Alexander Avila. I've been in the Carpenters Union since 1971 when it was first local 316, but it's now 405. I'd like to see more. It's been something that's already been covered, but it bears adding more light to it. A project to be more close to home, because it's noteworthy to consider the highly potential danger of working long, arduous hours far away from one's home. While carpenters are working, natural adrenaline flow helps one carry out one's labor-intense work assignments. But if one has to sit in slow-moving, long commutes to return back home, natural adrenaline flow can drop down to zero, putting the carpenter and those around him at risk of an auto accident if one dozes off at the wheel, affecting many families, not just one's own. So we need to encourage local work projects for everyone's safety. And so as far as the project, we'd only support that if the developers use the apprenticeship programs, because apprenticeship programs give a career path to young men and women graduating from high school and are given the alternative to college by creating policies that require the utilization of apprentices to develop a pool of skilled labor in the local area and on work on future projects. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Next, we have Luis Mirante.
Louis.
Hi, good evening, Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. Sorry for the technical difficulties earlier. Thanks for coming back to me. My name is Luis Mirante. I'm the Vice President of Public Policy with focused on housing at the Bay Area Council. Bay Area Council represents over 300 member companies in the Bay Area. We want to express our strong support for this project. As you all know, the Bay Area and California generally are experiencing really severe housing crunches. Projects like this, located in central areas, compliant with the rules, and offering 30% of their units as affordable, are really the types of projects that California needs to get back on its housing track. And denying a project like this would set us so many units back and encourage the death by 1,000 cuts that so many Californians are struggling under today. I want to urge you I want to align my comments with Vince Rocha's over at the Silicon Valley Leadership Group. I think he hit it perfectly. And I want to urge you to support this project or to recommend support for it to City Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Staff, I think, was it Tom is next? Is that one of the few we haven't called on?
Tom is part of the applicant team.
Okay, and I think we called on 644 already, correct? That's the
Yes, so
second
we're
hand
on
raise.
our, we're on our last speaker, the Galaxy. He wasn't able to unmute earlier.
right. Galaxy phone.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, I'm right here.
We got you.
Okay, you can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so my name is Rebecca, and I am a carpenter apprentice with Local 405, 5th period. So I just wanted to kind of talk from the heart about like the stuff that we're talking about. So basically, like, what is a good job if we can't support our families, right? People need to be able to feed our families and pay rent and utilities and be able to face our problems as they arise. A lot of us have families who depend on us. Wages go far beyond just the worker who's getting paid. Each person reaches another, leveling the playing field. Local hire is more beneficial than paying for hotels and bringing their workers along. And long commutes take time, burning toxic chemicals into the environment and taking away from individuals' ability to spend time with family and having an active life at home or even rest. I've seen the struggles of long commuters and And I've also like commuted myself, and it's really scary to have to pull over and take a nap because I'm too tired to drive home some days. And I can't even imagine like what a 4-hour drive is like. Local hire is essential to our trade to keep us safe. That's how I feel about the topic. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate all the public comment. Back to the applicant. You have 5 minutes to speak about whatever you think is pertinent to this planning commission. Applicant.
Tom, is there anything that you wanted to add?
Dina, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hello, this is Tom Direct, and I've been with this project for a long time. And both with Fort Bay and Miramar, we are very excited to bring it forward. We think we have brought forward a project that delivers both housing and commercial enlivenment to the Stevens Creek corridor. And we are providing more affordable homes than required. And that's the key right now. With high construction costs and interest rate volatility, we feel we can bring this project forward and most importantly, get it built. So that's why we appreciate your support and want your support. And Dina, if there's anything else I should say, you let me know.
We've covered it. I think we can concede the rest of our time.
All right, well, thank you to all who participated. Now it's to the Planning Commission. I don't see any immediate hands, so I'm gonna pop off with some questions here. Staff, this project as proposed, would it require construction simultaneously of residential and the hotel?
No, there's no concurrent requirement.
So when this planning commission approved project on Bascom Avenue, Hamilton, next to light rail, which was a parcel that was residential and office building, it was required that they both be built at the same time because historically city has seen the housing get built, but the commercial never happens. So how is that different in this case?
What might have been different for those projects, and John, correct me if I'm wrong, but they may have been signature projects that required, a housing component. Yeah.
And so this was never a signature project when it was first brought to the council. This was just done in the urban village.
It was a signature project originally, but now the urban village is approved, so it is no longer a signature project.
Got it. And it's no longer required to be signature
That's right.
because there's an urban village approved. Okay. So the other parcels that are not going to be part of this development, but were part of the original development, I believe. Is that correct?
That's right.
What is the restriction on those parcels for future development?
There is no restriction on those. It's just that they weren't included in this. They weren't able to acquire the parcels to include it.
They would have to build consistent with the urban village plan.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So they could potentially on those additional parcels just build 100% housing.
It is required to replace the existing commercial square footage at least.
Which is pretty minimal though, right?
I don't know the exact number on the site.
It's about 29,000 on those buildings that are to remain.
Okay, thank you for that. Appreciate that. On the promenade, I noticed there's a promenade on Page, between Page and Meridian along San Carlos. And I was looking at the other day, wondering how a wheelchair gets through. I'm assured that this is ADA accessible. There's enough width for a wheelchair to get through. In this case, on that other one, they did some planter boxes and it just seemed to conflict with a wheelchair. I just want to ask that question.
So we have Morgan from the Gazzaro Partners who's handling the landscape.
And I apologize, applicant. My question's really for planning staff. No offense, no offense.
It'll be reviewed by building to ensure it meets ADA requirements.
Okay, great. And the prior project, it had traffic and, a traffic report, but there's also traffic done under the Stevens Creek Urban Village Plan, right? So the callers say, question like, hey, there's only limited freeway entrances. That was managed and considered under the Stevens Creek Urban Village plan, correct?
I'm going to introduce Manjeet Benwait to answer that question.
That is correct.
Okay. And then, as laws change, so for example, the state density bonus, then any prior approved project can come back and say, hey, laws have changed. I would like to make changes to my proposed project. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And then I noticed a lot of the callers were talking about not having to drive for work. And the reality is that's the reality for 70% of employed residents in San Jose is they have to, pre-pandemic, leave the city for work. And the prior project had 280,000 square feet of office. And that intention was there would be an office where San Joseans could work rather than commuting up the peninsula or other areas. That is now gone. And I'm just curious to staff because there's a variety of parcels in San Jose to develop, but not every parcel has the opportunity to build office. And clearly, being in proximity to Cupertino, land of jobs and lots of revenue. Lots of revenue means superior municipal services for residents. We're not doing that here. It's quite a change. And I'm just trying to understand for that jobs housing imbalance, does staff denote that there's a distinct difference in what was approved and what's being proposed?
Yeah, staff did note that, again, with the signature project requirement, there is a requirement basically for projects to exceed the projected job generation percentages for that particular site as part of the signature project process, but that is not a requirement for this project. It basically is allowed to have different types of commercial uses. So hotels are permitted use among those different uses.
Thank you. And then how does, with a goal of having additional jobs in San Jose and the planning department being in a position to pull a lever on a project, how does staff balance that? I mean, you have few land opportunities and few strategic land. I mean, there's a reason why office was proposed on Stevens Creek and not at Cambrian Plaza, because they're geographically in different areas.
I might defer that question to Michael Brio.
Yeah, so if you remember, the original version of this project that was approved by council was a signature project, and the requirements of the signature project policy and general plan was to exceed the projected planned employment growth on a given property for the village. So, and that's what it did. But mind you, that sort of was a requirement before we went through the village process and figured out how we were going to accommodate and where we were going to accommodate the planned jobs growth. So the village plan went through that process. The council approved a plan that said the jobs will go here, the housing will go here, and this is mixed use. And so it's been a while, so I don't remember the details, but that's just to kind of give you some general background. So that village plan, the process included accommodating the planned jobs throughout that village. This site, I guess, was determined to need to have some jobs, but not the amount that was approved in the signature project.
So then as other projects come forward in the Stevens Creek Village, then the likelihood or the restriction by the city that means that the next project has to have more jobs is going to concur because the housing units will be used by, for example, this project. And so there'll be less units available for the next project, and then therefore they'll have to do office?
No. So you have to look at the land use designation and what the plan policy framework is for that given parcel to understand to how many housing units can you do, how much employment or square footage of commercial, and what is a minimum requirement for commercial if you're doing mixed use. So it really comes down to looking at the individual rules for each property in the village plan. So the village plan sort of looked at it holistically and said, that we're planning for, I'm afraid I don't remember the amount of jobs or units off the top of my head, but I'm going to say we're planning for, I don't know, 2 million square feet of office and 1,500 residential units or something. And so we sort of planned where those would generally be accommodated in the village. So it's not that someone else will have to make up for what this project would not do in terms of commercial. That's already factored into the plan.
Got it. And then Michael, just from, I mean, I asked a question, I think the other planner, but do you see this geographic location being more inclined to have office than other locations? Like for example, we approved Blossom Hill Station last week in South San Jose by a light rail. I mean, the likelihood of office there is unlikely, but here you're next to Apple and sort of all those other companies.
Yeah, correct. So, I mean, where we are in the marketplace right now is everything is challenging to build, except ADUs. ADUs are awesome. They're moving. People are still building those things, but everything is a challenge. But I mean, I think we're hope that if we do see that this part of San Jose, Stevens Creek, as it approaches the Apple mothership and all the other buildings that they own, and other high-tech employment uses generally to the west and north, that this is sort of situated to be one of the most likely areas we anticipate to get office development in San Jose, or at least one of them. I mean, we're still hopeful for North San Jose and downtown as well. So I'd say this is one of those areas. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you, part of my commissioners, for the amount of questions I just asked. So we'll move on to Commissioner Ornelas Wise.
Thank you. Those were all good questions. Thank you for asking them. I understand that the city required, or that you're replacing like 77,000 square foot of commercial use, but you're adding like a lot more. Is that correct to the project? I think it was like, I don't know, 241,873 square foot proposed. I'm assuming that could be offices if you all chose to, or Michael, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, does it have to just be like retail commercial?
Well, no, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Patrick, but they're proposing right at a hotel with some ground floor retail. So, I mean, so you are preserving that part of the project for commercial uses. Down the road. If they desired, they could flip it. It could be flipped to another type of commercial use.
Yeah.
The permit tonight is really just about the specifics of a hotel with ground floor retail. Is that correct, Patrick?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the allowed uses allow the full range of commercial uses there. And if someone wanted to come in and do something different on that site, we'd probably have to look at and see if the environmental clearance would cover, the amount of traffic that would, result versus the hotel. But it certainly wouldn't be prohibited.
All right, thanks. I noticed here that there was a lot of trees that were being removed, close to 200 trees. What is the ratio for replacement for those trees?
That is in the conditions of approval. I'm just going to scroll there right now. It's basically for each native tree that's removed, it has to be replaced at a ratio of 5 to 1.
Okay.
And non-native is 4 to 1, and any that they cannot accommodate reasonably on the site, there's an in lieu fee that can be paid for offsite replacement.
Okay, good. I was pretty impressed with the number of bedrooms for affordable housing that include 3 bedrooms. Thank you for doing that for the community. I wanted to also know what off-site improvements were going to be made for pedestrian safety.
Yes, this is Manji Benwait with Department of Public Works. The project is providing 20-foot sidewalks along Stevens Creek with standard tree wells along Albany Drive. They will also be providing 12-foot wide standard attached sidewalks with tree wells, along with half bulb outs along Albany Drive and the new intersection that will be relocated at Lopina Drive. Along Lopina Way, Lopina will also have 12-foot attached city standard sidewalks with tree wells, and also ADA ramps on opposite returns across Lopina Way and at Stevens Creek Boulevard. They will, there's also going to be a new all-way stop with ADA ramps on all four corners at Albany and Lopina intersection. And then furthermore, the project does have VMT impact, vehicle miles travel impact. And so in order to mitigate those impacts, the project is also constructing pedestrian network and traffic calming improvements that include removal of pork chop islands at Stevens Creek and Kiley Boulevard. And the project is contributing towards class 4 bike lanes along Stevens Creek Boulevard.
Okay, good. I did see the, so I wanted to see, is there any playground for children? Is there? There is? I'm seeing Morgan shake his head.
I'm sorry, I'm with the project team, so I'm the landscape architect. I don't know if that's directed towards staff, but yes, there will be a playground area.
Okay, good.
As part of the project.
Yeah, I think this is a great, when, I don't know if the city has any, because we're seeing, San Jose really grow up and have a lot of these high-rise projects. Does the city have any like high-rise design guidelines? I think this is, when these big projects come up, this is a great opportunity for, creating a lot of work-live opportunity for people to play where they live, like, I don't know, a pool, tennis court, walking trail around that whole 10-acre site. I mean, I think that, it really lends it opportunity. And of course, I'd like to see some of those improvements for the people that live there be able to stay there and really enjoy the community. But overall, I'm very impressed. And so thanks. Oh, one more thing. I did see on Building A on the northeast corner on Planning Development Permit PD 20-012, sheet AR1-5. I did notice that it was a dark facade, but the numbers to the building 4490 were also dark. So it was kind of hard to see them. So I would suggest that the color of the 4490 be lightened so that you could actually see the numbers of the address. Okay, and I would encourage also using local union workers. So thanks.
Great. Commissioner Barocio.
Perfect. Thank you. Good evening, Chair and staff and members of the public. I do have two questions. One of them, I would like to learn a little bit more, and I think the public as well, in terms of the traffic and transportation study. So I think Ms. Banway, if you can say just a little bit more. I think the last question was fielded to you. So if you can say just a little bit more about what would be the projected experience of the residents of the new complex and also of the surrounding community.
Yeah, so again, consistent with Council Policy 5-1, the project was looked at in terms of vehicle miles traveled with our current CEQA guidelines. The project does have impact from a residential standpoint. And so, like I mentioned before, the project is providing pedestrian network and traffic calming improvements at the intersection of Stevens Creek Boulevard and Kiley Boulevard. Overall, with the project going in, like I mentioned before, the project is constructing wider sidewalks along all project frontages and including new ADA ramps at some of the major intersections as well to help with that pedestrian experience. And again, we're taking a contribution towards class 4 bikeways along Stevens Creek so that when a future pavement program could come in, we can put in those protected bikeways along Stevens Creek Boulevard to help with the bicycle connectivity. Furthermore, there are transit improvements that are also being implemented by the project. So currently there is a bus stop that's located along the project's frontage on the southwest corner of Stevens Creek Boulevard and Lupina Way. But in coordination with VTA, as of June, that bus stop is going away. So we're looking at improvements at potentially relocating that bus stop to Stevens Creek Boulevard and Lupina Way, closer to the project site, or no, excuse me, Stevens Creek Boulevard and Palace Drive. And so we'll continue to work with VTA as the project moves forward on what that bus stop will look like, or potentially just take a project contribution towards improvements. depending on what fits the needs of VTA. So overall, the goal of the project, again, consistent with our general plan, is to create a more of a multimodal environment to get people obviously out of their cars and to utilize our transit system and our bikeways. Thank you.
No, perfect. Thank you for that. I see that this project is kind of tucked in that piece of Albany, and I bet the residents would love Albany to expand, at least that part of the stretch, so it can sustain more traffic. So two-part question. When would a project dictate that a certain street be expanded in terms of lanes? And then also, how would that recommendation, if it is recommended, that more lanes are included in a certain street, if it's tucked in between an area that is not part of the project, like in this case, the connection between the project and Kylie, there is that little stretch that's not part of it, that runs parallel, which I think is a Toyota dealership. So that right there, even if we expand Albany in the project area, how would it hypothetically dictate the expansion of lanes to connect to the bigger connection, say to a freeway or just to a bigger street?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, so our policy now, unfortunately, no longer dictates looking at congestion in terms of how we looked at it before. And so our city goal now, per our general plan or per our council policies, is not to expand our roadways, but rather, again, to focus the shift from people driving their cars into a more multimodal environment. And so our goal at this point is not to widen our roadways, but again, to provide funding and to get essentially developers to pay towards more of our infrastructure towards multimodal goals. And so we still do look at intersections, we look at level of service still, we still look at queuing and that type of thing and look at adverse effects. But again, that's no longer CEQA at this point. And so we try to offset any kind of adverse effects by having the project, again, do things like contribute towards bicycle lanes and that sort of thing.
I was muted. No, thank you so much for that. I think that's good clarity around how the general plan sort of paints the vision and how projects conform to that. Obviously, pros and cons to the local residents' perspective, right? Depending if they feel that that's the way to go. Now, my second part question around affordable housing. In instances where, like, I see this project has 3 buildings projected, I think 2 of them, if not 3, are going to be housing, right? But I see that building A is being considered the affordable housing complex. So this is just a general question, but this is a good example, good case study. Is it typical that if 2 or more affordable housing complexes are built, that the affordable units are in one complex? Is that typical, or is it more typical where the affordable units are spread out throughout all the new buildings that will go up?
It can be a mix, but oftentimes the financing is different and taken. The affordable buildings are often constructed and in partnership with people who are, kind of well versed in the financing, which is a very difficult and intricate process for those buildings. And so, because of those arrangements, it's often difficult to intersperse the units within all the different buildings on the site, and their most affordable buildings are built kind of on their own through financing that's arranged for the building. And maybe the applicant can also kind of chime in on that.
Yeah, if I could.
I'm not sure, Patrick, I'm not sure I'm on.
Hang on, Commissioner Barroso, who would you like to hear from?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Whoever can piggy off or connect with Mr. Kelly's response, so there's some continuity.
Yeah.
But I guess if both of them do, I
Hey, Tom, I can talk to that. So the ordinance right now in the city of San Jose allows for on-site but separate units, they call it off-site, affordable units to be built if they're more than the 15% required. So you did 20%, then it permits you to build a standalone building, which makes it a lot, to staff's point, makes it a lot easier to finance because these are financed as a separate parcel. They get tax credit financing, they get bond financing, and it's practically impossible to do that when the units are inclusionary. So you can achieve a lot more units, more affordable units, if you have them standing alone. And then in our case, we're going well above the 20%. We're doing 30% affordable units,
Okay,
173
thank you,
units.
Barry.
Yep.
So commissioners, does that make sense on the financing and why sometimes it's a separate building?
Yes, it definitely does. And just for my benefit, obviously, new commissioner here, when it's up to the commissioner to hear the speaker, is it more, were you asking for, who do you want to hear from, staff or the applicant? Was that basically the question?
Yeah, correct, because during this time, it's really staff and commission. And if the commissioner wants to ask the applicant, then they just say, they identify that.
Perfect. Okay. Well, thank you for that clarity. Those are all my questions. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Commissioner Barosios. Any other questions from commissioners? Oh, Commissioner Cantrell.
Actually, I don't have a question as much as I want to say I love this. When we have bright, engaged staff doing their job and commissioners really digging deep and trying to understand a project, and the developer is willing to go the long course with us. I think that's pretty amazing. That's what we're all here for. And with that, I think probably the only thing that would make this project better is actually to use apprentice labor. I think that would be amazing. I think our economy is strong when labor's strong, and those are the things that we need to see. But with that, I'd like to say that I recommend that we accept staff recommendations and approve this project.
Second.
And that second was Commissioner Casey. So we have a motion by Commissioner Cantrell, a second by Commissioner Casey. Any other questions or comments on the motion from anyone? Commissioner Cantrell, is your hand still up?
Oh, no, it's not.
Okay, great. Then I guess we will move towards a vote. So hang on here. Let's see. Commissioner Lardenois.
Yes.
Commissioner Alawalia. Commissioner Alawalia, as mentioned prior, you could put up a sheet of paper and write yay or nay if you cannot be able to speak there. Hey, I see you, Commissioner Alawalia. Can you hear us?
Maybe a thumbs up or thumbs down.
Yeah, Commissioner Alawalia, if it's a yes, put your thumb up. If it's a no, put your thumb down. That looks like up. Okay, moving along. Commissioner Barosio.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantrell.
Yes.
Commissioner Casey.
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia, I believe, is absent. Commissioner Young, I believe, is absent. And Commissioner Ornelas Wise.
Yes.
And
I think Commissioner Young is here today.
What's that?
Commissioner Young is here now.
Oh, hey, great. Commissioner Young, I didn't hear you. How you voting?
Sorry for being late, and I vote yes.
Outstanding. Thanks so much. And Commissioner Oliverio will vote yes as well, but he would like noted in the staff report that the project has drastically changed, and eliminating a commercial office building for jobs is certainly something the council should look at, and also concerned that the project is not tied to building the hotel with the residential. Just an area of concern for this commissioner, but I'm not going to be voting against it. I'll be supporting it. And if you can, if we could display the vote. Okay. Actually, I think we should depict that Commissioner Young is a yes on that one, correct?
Correct.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, okay. All right, next item.
Yes,
Item
that's
C, correct?
Yes, that's right, Chair. See if I can try again to bring up the plans, and if I can't, then I'll rely on the applicant to show those after the presentation. So just give me 1 minute. Let's see.
Chair, can I ask for a short break here while they do that? I'm just parched. I need to get a
I
drink.
understand. We will take a 3-minute break, everyone, a
Sounds great.
3-minute break. And then Patrick Kelly will get his beautiful visuals prepared when we return. Thank you. do. So back to Patrick Kelly, planning staff to present on item C.
Okay, happy to be back and share our full color graphics for this project. This request is made by Robinson Homes for a planned development zoning that would allow the development of 21 single-family homes on the property, including 14 accessory dwelling units. Of the 21 homes, 4 will be deed restricted affordable to no more than 80% area median income. Based on the percentage of affordable units provided, the project is eligible for 2 regulatory incentives that reduce the development cost of the project. The 2 incentives requested include access by cul-de-sac street in lieu of a through street completing the street pattern, and a reduced minimum lot size of 4,100 square feet for the detached units and 2,580 square feet for the 4 attached single family units, in lieu of the minimum 5,000 square foot required by the zoning ordinance. Both the cul-de-sac design and reduced lot sizes allow the project to be built at or below the minimum level allowed density of 8 dwelling units per acre in the residential neighborhood designation, in this case 7.4 dwelling units per acre. The applicant and staff followed the city's public outreach policy by holding a community meeting, notice to a radius of 1,000 feet from the project boundary, and 13 community members attended, and only one comment was made, which was in support of the cul-de-sac design to keep Browning Avenue closed to through traffic. The staff report also responds to comments made by the community members during the general plan amendment hearing of February 21, 2021. To conclude, the staff's recommendation that the Planning Commission recommend approval of the plan development zoning, PD permit, and tentative subdivision map to the City Council. And Mary Gourlay of Robeson Homes is here to present the project and answer any questions.
And Patrick, you were only displaying one asset, correct?
Yes, that's right.
And okay, because you said color and this looks black and white, unless that, so just checking.
Yeah, well, there is some teal and purple here.
Yeah, it's pretty, isn't it? Okay, let's go on to the applicant. Has the applicant been given access to speak? Patrick, again, who was that that's going to be speaking?
Mary Gourlay, but I don't see her. Oh, there she is. She's got her hand now. Yeah.
Has she been promoted, staff?
Yes, Mary's now on the panelist side.
Great. Mary, we see your presentation. Hi, Mary, we see your presentation, but don't hear any volume.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. I'm sorry about that delay. Yes, my name is Mary Gourlay, and I'm here with Mark Robeson. First, I'd just like to thank staff, including Court, Laura, and also Patrick for the hard work on the project. Their help is really invaluable throughout this process. Our site is basically on the eastern portion of a parcel that's owned by the Cambrian School District. The Cambrian School District initiated this development opportunity over 2 years ago for the purpose of generating long-term funding for their schools. In February of last year, City Council approved a general plan amendment to change the site's land use designation from quasi-public to residential neighborhood. With their approval came criteria to maximize this housing opportunity. Basically, the requirements included 15% of the homes to be offered as affordable to families at the low or 80% of the area median income, and to build at least 14 accessory dwelling units to maximize the density. Our proposal includes the 14 ADUs and also exceeds the affordable housing requirement by offering 19% of the homes as affordable at the low area median income. This basically equates to four-bedroom affordable homes that will be built on site. Throughout this process, we have gone to great lengths to design an attractive community while also listening to our neighbor, our direct neighbor questions and comments. Our team met with adjacent homeowners several times to discuss their concerns, and we have adjusted our plans wherever possible. One comment that we heard many times is that neighbors did not want the street to connect to Browning Avenue. So our proposal does not make this connection. Rather, the street ends in a cul-de-sac and a small vehicular court. And at the end of the court, bollards will be placed to restrict access for only pedestrians and cyclists. The accessory dwelling units have been carefully located. The majority are placed adjacent to the school facility above a detached garage. 4 are placed adjacent to single-family residential on the opposite side of the project. For these homes, they are restricted to the ground floor only and are attached to the primary home. Here we have a diagram that basically illustrates what is allowed by the city in the building envelope compared to what we plan to build. As you can see, our homes are less in both building height and also building mass. The diagram also shows that the second floor windows on the rear elevations have been reduced in both the number and size to ensure privacy for our neighbors. The public offers a wide variety of beautifully designed homes, including 5 distinct architectural styles and 6 plans. Here are a couple examples of homes that have an attached garage. And here you can see a couple examples that have a detached garage that is in the rear yard and out of view. Overall, we believe this project will be a wonderful addition to the neighborhood. The illustration above depicts the view from Cambriana Drive once the project is complete. You can see the gracious front porches, the new sidewalk and landscape. And for community benefit, the project offers the 4 on-site affordable homes at the 80% area median income level, 14 accessory dwelling units that are affordable by design, and most importantly, future funding for the Cambrian School District. That is basically what we have. We appreciate your time and we welcome any questions and comments that you have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Staff, are there any members of the public that have requested to speak on this item?
Yes, our first speaker is Melissa. Melissa, go ahead and unmute your device and begin to speak.
Hi, thank you for hearing me. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
So I just want to thank you for the opportunity of speaking. I'm here to speak on behalf of the Cambrian School District in support of this proposal. I'm a member of the Cambrian community and have students in Cambrian schools. I worked actively as a part of the Home and School Clubs and the Education Foundation to raise funds for the Cambrian School District. This project is very important to the Cambrian School District, and I'm sure you're aware school districts, especially in the Bay Area, struggle to fund programs with the government education funding. Cambrian is no exception to this problem. Cambrian District Office and Board have worked really hard to identify ways to come up with additional funding sources. The development of this land will create additional funding sources for the school district that will go to supporting the education of our students. This site, which is up for proposal at the moment, has been dormant for a long time and is a perfect site for single family homes. The rezoning of this land will provide a path for the district to have a long-term sustainable income source. As a member of the community who's actively involved in fundraising and feels the constant pressure of the shortcomings of funding to education, I welcome this as a sensible income source, as a sustainable income source that would contribute to the district's financial security and stability. This project is important as a part of the growth of the district and its stability. The single family homes will fit in perfectly with the local neighborhood and have been discussed and developed with the local neighbors in mind. The financial pressure and resulting compensations of this project would have a huge impact on the whole community, especially the Cambrian School District, and will go a long way to helping us sustain our children's education. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Next, we have Samantha Shirashi.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Samantha Shirishi, and I would like to also support the approval of the rezoning and other items before you tonight. This is an important project for our school district and for our community. The single family homes that will be built in this neighborhood will be perfect for the existing community and will fit in well there. The school district has chosen a reputable builder that has taken into account and incorporated all the recommendations that have been put forth in the 2-year planning process for this project, including the affordable housing and the ADU units. And as you saw, I think in the photos and in the design, they've thoughtfully put together a plan that will fit in well with the existing neighborhood and with the community, and it will go a long way to support our schools that are desperately in need of additional funding. So thank you.
Thank you, Samantha. Next speaker, Beth Erickson.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi, my name is Beth Erickson, and I have been a resident of the Cambrian School District for the past 14 years. My children have been attending in Cambrian schools since 2015. I am speaking tonight in order to urge the Planning Commission to move this project forward so that our district can secure long-term funding that will enable them to deliver the quality education to our Cambrian children for many years to come. This project incorporated the recommendations set forth by the City Council. They found a builder who recognizes how important it is to build homes that fit into the neighborhood while also allowing for the ADU units and the affordable housing units. And when they were able to do this, they were pushed this project forward. As you've heard recently, school districts like Cambrian are being forced to look for sustainable long-term revenue sources in order to make up the difference between state funding and the actual cost of educating our students. As a long-term and active member of our home and school clubs and the Cambrian Educational Foundation, I have seen firsthand the difficult decisions that our schools have to make and have actively participated in the fundraising that need to make this difference. With no projected increase in state funding for our schools, the district has found this alternative solution. I spoke during the general plan amendment process with many other parents, teachers, staff, and children, one of which was my 11-year-old son. He understood the importance of this project and has been enjoying both music and sports in his middle school year this past year. Without the approval of this project, these vital programs may need to be cut, which would be detrimental to the school district, its ability to retain and attract students, and the ability ultimately to the city of San Jose and neighboring communities. We would hate to see a situation where his sister and many others cannot enjoy these same opportunities. I ask you again to please approve to move this project forward, and I thank you for your time today.
Thank you. And I believe that ends public comment. So with that said, we would go back to the applicant to see if you had anything else you wanted to say.
Hi, Chair. We did get one hand raised.
Oh, let's see. Randy Schofield, correct?
Yes. Randy, go ahead and unmute your device and begin to speak.
Hi, thank you, Chair and council members. My name's Randy Schofield. I'm a member of the Board of Trustees for the Cambrian School District, and strategically, we put this plan forward years ago to provide a funding source that would cover the shortfalls that we currently and have for a long time experienced in Cambrian School District, being the 32nd out of 34 school districts lowest in funding in our county. As so eloquently spoken by our three public comments, the work and the partnership with City Council in order to meet the requirements necessary to move this forward, and the selection of a wonderful contractor in Mark Robeson and Robeson Homes to build a project that fit our community and got the community support and engagement is important to us. But strategically, it's important for the Planning Commission to know how vital this is in our ongoing revenue creation that allows us via a property exchange to be able to have ongoing revenue in perpetuity from this. And we strongly encourage your support and recommendation to the City Council for this project moving forward.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And now we've finished a public comment, so we'll go back to the applicant, see if they wanted to add anything.
We have nothing to add. We're happy
Okay,
to answer questions.
great. Thanks so much. Now we'll go to the commissioners. If you have any questions of any sort. I see Commissioner Ornelas Wise.
I know that the existing facility that is there, it's used for sports and a preschool. I just want to ensure that the construction that, I don't know, maybe staff could let me know what mitigation measures or safety like during construction to make sure that the kids that are at that preschool or sports, you know, are protected from the construction. Is there like a temporary fence or something of that sort?
Staff.
Yes, we do have standard construction mitigation measures. There is a requirement that a fence be constructed, I believe, prior to the start of construction. I'll double check that.
Yeah.
And if court happens to remember anything while I'm doing that, feel free to chime in.
Yeah, I just want to ensure the safety of the children that still use that school facility.
Is that a school facility or is it an office for the district?
Looks like on the staff report, it showed that it was a school that now is vacant, but is used as a preschool and for like sports for, you know, the youth.
Any other comment or question, Commissioner Ornelas Wise?
Oh, no, that's it.
Okay. Commissioner Young?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just have a question on how this project is benefiting the financing for the Cambrian School District. And I'm not sure if Mr. Schofield, the trustee, is still here, but my question is, how does this project, how is it financially structured to be beneficial for the school district?
Is that person still here? I believe it's a long-term lease by the developer back to the school district.
Chair, my name is Scott Sheldon, and I can answer that question on behalf of the district, if that is okay.
Is that okay, Commissioner Young?
Terrific. So what this, the school districts are fairly constrained in terms of what they can do with their real properties, but the education code does allow school districts to exchange their property. So as you can imagine, the property right now is about 2.75 acres of land. It's vacant. It's not creating any revenue for the district. In fact, they're having to pay to maintain it. So there's a cost to it. And what we've done and what we've done in the past quite a bit is taking these kinds of pieces of property and trading them for income producing pieces of property. So you would buy or trade into a warehouse or another piece of property that generates rents. And that is where the ongoing source of revenue comes from.
That's right.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you. No other questions, Chair. Thanks.
Okay. Commissioner Barocios?
Yes, perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Young, for asking that question. And Mr. Sheldon, would you be able just to say a little bit more in terms of, will the school district own the homes and collect the rent? Is that how the lease thing works?
No, it will actually be an exchange of a piece of property, and it'll be a three-way exchange. So the district would have Mr. Robeson acquire a district identified property, and then they would swap for the property. Mr. Robeson and Robeson Homes would then own that property, build those homes, and then he would sell those. And the revenue would actually come from another piece of property. And I'll use a generic term. They would acquire something like a Taco Bell or a Walgreens or something like that, that would be on a long-term lease. And then they would receive the revenue from the ownership of that other property.
Oh, I see. I see. Okay. And then my second question, I believe in the renderings or in the blueprints, I did see private street. And if that's correct, would somebody on staff be able to explain to us what is the difference between a private street and a public street?
A private street is constructed and maintained by the property owners, and HOA fees go into maintaining that street. So it's built to city standards, but it is up to the individual property owners to maintain the street.
And by maintaining, you mean if there's a pothole, they're in charge of filling it. If it needs paint, for whatever reason, a stop sign or something, they're in charge of, collecting all the HOA and paying for that. Is that generally how that works?
Generally, and I might defer to Manjeet to provide any other additional insight on that. Manjeet or Liz.
I'm going to defer to Liz on this one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that is correct. It's so, like Pat mentioned, it'll be built to city standards, but because it is a private street, it'll be owned and maintained by the private property owners. So as you mentioned, any potholes or any other typical maintenance required of streets will be funded by the property owners.
Okay. And is it typical that permits are given to the residents? So I imagine in the past, there's been some wanting to keep the residents that don't pay HOA from the community, right from the surrounding community, to go into that street. I imagine there's been cases like that. Is that sort of built in, or does that typically not happen?
It's still publicly accessible by anyone. It's just that any repair in the future is paid by those units there and not the city. And staff tell me if that's incorrect.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's accessible to the public and visitors to the neighbors.
Okay, so there's typically not a permit parking program that initiates with private streets.
So that would all be governed by the HOA itself to ensure that, I guess, only proper private property owners are parking within that private street.
So if they vote to make it a permit parking street, that's within their power.
I believe so. Other staff can correct me if I'm wrong, but that can be written into the HOA requirements.
Yeah, I can't say I'm completely familiar with how that works.
Okay. Is that something that perhaps at the next meeting that can be clarified in terms of how that happens?
However it happens, it will happen in the manner that's typical of all private streets and subdivisions in the city, where the developers have to submit standard CC&Rs for review.
Mm-hmm.
And so it will be, however that is typically handled will be addressed that way.
Yeah, I'm not, Patrick, I mean, is Manjeet here? Would she know, or anyone from DOT? I'm not familiar with situations like this being such that the public can't park on the street, but we should follow up on that. It is a little concerning if that's the case.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can add is that, yeah, typically for any HOA kind of maintain private streets, I mean, they're allowed to put tow-away signs there, right? And they can issue their own permitted parking. So, but again, that would be, like Pat said, within their CC&Rs and something that's recorded with the map. So again, with private streets, it's pretty much the HOA who does have more control of that street and who comes in and out, and again, the towing abilities and that type of thing.
Okay.
You say comes in and out, though. Sorry, Commissioner.
No.
When you say coming in and out, though, I mean, there's no way that a potential HOA could restrict a non-visitor from driving down that street, or a non-resident.
That's correct. I mean, they wouldn't restrict it, but I mean, from people actually parking there, they can do that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry, Commissioner.
No, it's perfectly fine. And my last question, now that the HOA question has come up, I know that I believe 19 units or 19%, it's probably 19%, of the units will be affordable or low to affordable. Is the HOA structure, I don't know if this is part of the permit, but is the HOA structure also subsidizing their contributions to the HOA because they're in the affordable units? Do their fees get brought down a couple?
Sliding scale?
Yes, right, a sliding scale.
If that is a requirement, it would be done through the affordable housing agreement for the project. I don't believe that's the case, though.
Okay.
The affordability component is really about the income to buy those units, not necessarily the rules that govern afterwards.
Okay. And is it typical that certain clauses are written into the permits where in cases like this, new developments, HOA is going to be a part of it, that there is a sliding scale for the future? Is that something that could be written in? And if it could be written in, is it typical, or is it something that is pretty rare?
I would say the city doesn't really get involved in that component. We just require that you to form an HOA to maintain common areas such as the street. As far as a sliding scale for like the affordable units, We don't really get into the weeds of that component, just as long as they deed restrict the units that anybody making certain income are only allowed to purchase those units. Any other agreements would be part of their own CC&Rs or their own HOA or a part of the affordability compliance plan that they have to do at the building stage.
Okay, and
John, isn't there an affordable housing, what do you call it? Something or another plan or something that the how they work with in the housing department to actually figure out the implementation on this?
Yeah,
Or-
the housing compliance plan that's done
Compliance plan,
prior to the
okay.
building permit.
So that's where a lot of this stuff would be figured out.
I don't know if they get into the weeds of the HOA fees and the sliding scale. but
Oh,
they're
yeah, I
more
don't think they
about
would
the-
on that, but in terms, okay, so I'm sorry, that was the question then. Okay, got it.
Yeah, but there is about how they restrict on the affordability of the units and how they are sold.
okay, yeah, and I bet that that's disclosed upon purchase. So there's no surprises for the homeowner. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Barocio. Commissioner Alawalia? I see your hands up. And we cannot hear you, so I'm just, you're muted now. If you could unmute yourself, try speaking. Nah, not a peep.
Or if you can call in.
Yeah. Well, okay. Not knowing what Commissioner Alawalia wants to state, I don't know what, and hasn't been able to have be heard for the balance of the meeting. I can't say we can stop and wait because it's been a technical issue the whole evening. I guess at this point, are there any other comments from commissioners? Okay, does anyone want to make a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion
Okay, and what would that motion be?
to accept staff's recommendation to approve the project.
Excellent. And was that Commissioner Lardenois the second?
Yes.
Okay, any discussion on the motion? I would just like to make a comment to staff that I think when it comes to city council, if there's the question can be resolved about can an HOA pass permit parking and not allow any other car to park there to be known, because I think that would be an interesting thing for the city council to know, unless assume this is going to city council, or is it stopping here?
It's going to city council.
Okay, great. I just think if staff could have that question answered, that would be beneficial. And okay, so let's vote on this motion. Commissioner Lardenois,
Yes.
Commissioner Casey,
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia, absent. Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Ornelas Wise.
Yes.
And I'm going out of order and just picking things. Commissioner Alawalia, you can give the thumbs up or the thumbs down. That appears to be a thumb up. Commissioner Casey, Commissioner Lardenois. Who else do we have here? Commissioner Cantrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Barocio.
Yes.
And I think that finishes out, correct, staff? It's a unanimous vote and you can display the vote.
Commissioner Young?
Did I not call on him? I apologize. Commissioner Young?
No, you did, Chair. You
Okay.
called me. I
sorry.
voted yes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's all good. I keep going back and forth for everyone's name is. Okay, so that's passed. So congratulations. We're now off to the next item on the agenda. Staff, just no referrals. Item 7, good and welfare report from the city council. I believe there has not been. Is that correct? Item A is nothing.
That's correct.
No subformation of committees or reports, outstanding business. Any new study sessions on the agenda, on the calendar?
I'm not aware of any.
Okay, great. Anything on the public record? Nope. Any other
Nope.
comments before we adjourn, commissioners? I guess that'll do it. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much, staff and commissioners. We'll see you in August.